Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of Slam's Fist Fact Podcast. My name is Brandon. I am here with my lovely co-host, who is the Chandler Bing to my Joey Tribbiani, the Bert to my Ernie, and last but not least, the Ben to my Jerry. Rick, how are you today?
Good man, I love those so much.
They're great. I figured you would definitely like the Friends Joey Chandler reference because I
It's
feel like
perfect.
that's very close to how we are.
Yes,
But we at
my
least
sense of
know,
humor very Bingish.
yeah, but at least we know what each other's job is.
That was arguably one of the top 10 scenes in Friends. Is when they couldn't say what Chandler did.
I I think one of my favorite scenes is when Joey figures out Chandler and Monica are fucking. That he just like
Oh, dude,
and like and then
Joey, I need to
Chandler
talk to you in the hallway.
and then Chandler just runs him out of there. Uh it's great. But anyway, how are you?
Good man, how are
Good.
you?
Doing great. Been a couple weeks, I guess 2 since
Mm-hmm.
we've done an episode. I traveled for pleasure and then for work. And it's just all that we had time to. So, sorry. Maybe we'll do one day in the upcoming weeks. Maybe we'll do a 2 episode week drop. Who knows? Maybe we'll do a normal one and then our first special guest will be a same week special episode drop. Um, I was told today that we should have started bringing on special guests by episode 3. And now that we're on episode 4, because one of our listeners, lovely Dalton Vestal, told me today that during both seasons of the podcast that doesn't exist online anymore, of season 1 and 2, he was the special guest on episode 3 of each of those seasons, which is a
Ooh,
fun
that's a fun
little,
fact.
yeah, which I did not know. I thought I was like, dude, that's so cool. But no, go screw yourself. We're not going to be a special guest yet. We wanted to get a couple under our belt, get our wheels a turning, the pistons lubed before we started guesting people out. But
Oh,
um, going off of this, same section, same sponsor, Kelly McGillicuddy gave us this idea forever ago. Rick, what are you drinking today?
yes, Mac. I have a Mountain Dew Zero.
Mm.
So, little off the air type news break is that I'm trying to lose some weight, and Brandon and I and a couple other friends are in a little weight loss challenge, and so I've actually cut off full sugar sodas,
Same.
and I've been drinking a lot more water. So Mountain Dew Zero for the
Yes.
win tonight.
Yeah, dude. I've been drinking Mountain Dew Zeros. Amy found them like a year or so ago, 2 years maybe. Drank the crap out of them. I'm doing, funny enough, ginger ale zero because it's the only soda that I drink now is ginger ale. And then I have my lovely Yeti, definitely a sponsor, tumbler full of water. So, um, yeah, but you won't see alcohol with me from a while on this podcast. Still drink a little bit overseas, but that was different. So, but we'll talk about that later. Anyway, best part of the day for at least some people that like this section. This week in history. Bring it through us, Rick.
Yeah, man. So first of all, want to say for this week, Happy Veterans Day. Thank you to all our past and present veterans. I don't know if I brought it up on the podcast before, but my dad is a veteran, and so thank him. Thank anyone else you know, past or present, that has served the country. And then rolling into my this week in history, other people in other countries know November 11th as Armistice Day. So in 1918, World War One ends, and it is dubbed Armistice Day. And then fast forward 2 years later, in 1920, on November 11th, we have the first burial of the unknown soldiers from World War One. It took place in Paris and London. The U.S. would do something very similar the following year. And this action later inspired Eisenhower, President Eisenhower, to propose a bill in 1956 to create the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in Arlington National Cemetery.
Pretty cool. Never been to If you've never been to Arlington, for anybody out there, highly recommend. Uh, it's it's interesting for sure. It's
Don't
definitely
don't go
eye
to
opening.
DC and not go.
Yeah, because I mean, you have the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers there. You have plenty. I mean, JFK with the Eternal Flames there. Robert Kennedy's right down the road, and there are tons of other people there. The whole land was owned by Robert E. Lee. Fun fact of the day for anybody that doesn't know that. So his house is still on that property as well, and you can go tour the house. But he donated that before he died all to the government.
And why did General Lee own that property?
Was it because of residuals because of the Dukes of Hazzard?
Not quite. He married George and Martha Washington's adopted son's granddaughter. Last name Curtis. I can't remember her first name.
That's so.
I swear.
No, I mean,
So-
I believe you, but you're like George Washington's
Adopted
adopted
son.
sons.
Had a granddaughter, last name Curtis, married Robert E. Lee, and that's why he owned that property.
That's insane. Mary Anna Randolph Curtis.
All those names.
Mary. So Mary Curtis. Anyway, that's cool. But yes, like Rick said, happy Veterans Day to everybody. I'll shout out my boss who hopefully doesn't listen to this. He's a veteran. You were late for a meeting because you were at a Veterans Day parade, so I'll give you that excuse this one time. Every time Veterans Day is on a Monday, you can have that excuse, sir. So mine, let me pop in a little lippy pillow. Sorry. I forgot to do that whatever. 11 yes, 11/10/1975. Something that's getting, I feel like every year in November it gets a lot of traction, but for some reason this year I'm seeing a lot on TikTok. The Edmund Fitzgerald supply truck sank in Lake Superior, which we've already talked about, should definitely be called Sea Superior. What?
You just said supply truck.
Yeah, supply tank, gird, ship, truck.
Ship.
Yep. Either way, it was a huge ship. But so it sank. It was reported that there were hurricane force type winds. I looked up the winds for that day. They were about 70 to 80 miles an hour with gusts up to 90. So definitely category 1 tropical storm area, but for a lake also in Michigan, that's a lot. All 29 people passed away, and then the person that wrote the lovely song that we all know about the Edmund Fitzgerald died this week as well. So there is a church in Detroit that every year on November 10th ring out 29 bells because the Edmund Fitzgerald was headed to Detroit with supplies. And this year they ring out 30. So I thought that was kind of cool. But yes, Lake Superior, for all you people that don't know, is huge. Looked on our stats. We do have a couple international listeners, which is really cool. So thank you for that. Lake Superior is, if you changed one, it provides 10% of water of all fresh water in the world. And I don't know if that's counting the frozen fresh water. Probably not. Like glaciers and
I
stuff.
think it's liquid.
Yeah.
I think it's.
But and then if you made Lake Superior, took all the surface water or all the water and made Lake Superior 1 foot deep, Lake Superior would cover the entire continent of North and South America fully. No land in sight. So to give you an idea of how small that lake is. It's called Superior for a reason, everyone. And then secondly, on the 18th of November, so splitting 8 days here, because we had a lot to go off of since didn't have a week, the Jonestown Massacre happened. And I know that both of my facts were morbid today. I didn't notice that till after I wrote them, but that's okay. So Jim Jones in Jonestown, I think Jonestown was in Cambodia. I'm not 100% positive. 917 people drank the Kool-Aid. There were 918 deaths total through the cyanide Kool-Aid, but Jim Jones was scared, and I know he took his life a different way. I can't remember how, but so yeah, that cultness happened. Kind of weird. You've seen the pictures of it. I've looked at the pictures online. Very interesting. Definitely not for
wild occurrence.
yeah, definitely not for the faint of heart. But if you can withstand those pictures, you can totally see it. There's no blood or gore or anything. It's just a lot of unaliving. But the most important facts of the day, we're going to give a couple shout outs. It's been a while since we do birthdays consistently. I think the last birthday shout out was to Rick's wife. So mine is going to be to my wife. She has a birthday this week on Friday. So for all you listeners out there, tomorrow, because you're listening on Thursday. So happy birthday. I love you. And then secondly,
happy birthday, Amy.
Secondly, a little less important birthdays is our good buddy Eddie, good old Cheeseburger Eddie, the YouTube star that was on the podcast. His birthday is also the same day as Amy's birthday. And our good buddy Dakota, who he's kind of like a nomad. He doesn't really travel the U.S., but if I was going to describe our friend Dakota to somebody, it would definitely be nomadic.
In spirit.
In spirit. Yeah. His birthday is on the 14th of this week. So happy birthday to y'all guys. You are very important to us, except Amy's just a little bit more importanter. And that's all we got to say about that. So that's this week in history. So, what do you want to talk about in our current topics today?
You shut your mouth and tell me about the trip.
Well, it was fun.
It might have something to do with what you're wearing and your hat that you have on. For those that can actually see,
I've had this hat for I have this hat for 6 years.
Don't lie to me. You aged it on the flight back.
No, I bought this trip. I bought this hat when I went to Ireland the first time. Bought it in the Aran Islands. I wonder if it has a date on it. Let me look. Because they're all like home stitched, so it's got like a huge patch in it. It is hand woven tweeds from the mills of yesteryear. So you know what? That's old. That sounded old.
At least last year.
No, I bought this when I went to Ireland the first time. There are pictures with me 5 years ago with this hat on. Dang it. It was great. For all of you that didn't listen to the UK Takeover podcast, stop here, go back, listen to that one first. You'll get a preview of what we're about to talk about now. Went to Ireland and London. The Ireland trip was fantastic. We weren't there long. We were only there for about 3.5 days. Because we were just doing a photo shoot for our anniversary and stuff at the Cliffs of Moher, where we got engaged. But to start it out, and this is going to be a long story that is going to start now and end after I'm done talking about the rest of the stuff. I flew over there, flew American. I always fly American because I'm an American card holder. I'm also a Delta card holder, but I like American a little bit better. Total row to myself. The whole 6-hour flight. Nobody was in my thing. Awesome. Dude, I laid down on the seats, had a blanket on. It was great. Fantastic. Most comfortable plane ride I've ever been on because of that. And it was weird. So I bought main cabin extra, got I'm a guru at saving points. So side hustle, if y'all need to know how to save mile points and how to use them correctly, I got my flight for free. And I upgraded for $100 to main cabin plus to have 6 inches of extra legroom and all the free alcoholic drinks I want. I drank 0 of them because I slept the entire time because I didn't have anybody in my fucking row, and it was awesome. So there is that.
Who needs drinks when you have sleep?
Exactly. But we got over there, stayed in Dublin for a day, and then we rented a car. And got to drive on what Americans would say the wrong side, what literally the rest of the world minus like 2 or 3 countries would say is the correct side or the left side of the road. Very interesting.
We'll integrate the rest later.
I liked it better. It was, I don't know. Well, one, I messed up and definitely tried to get in on the left side of the car a few times after we got out, right? Or when we were getting back in. But for some reason, so we were driving like a Kia Sportage, like a midsize SUV, not like a tiny car. So it kind of compared to like in between Amy's car and my truck. And I felt like for some reason I had more control driving sitting on the right side of the car than the left side for some reason. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because I was just in a smaller vehicle than I'm used to with my truck. But it was great, dude. Just freaking flying. The only thing that was tough, so we drove all the way across the country of Ireland, east coast to west coast. The only thing that was tough was being in the city of Dublin, getting out, and traffic circles. Traffic circles were interesting, not because I wanted to go to the right, but because their traffic circles are not one lane. Their traffic circles are however many exits there are, that's how many lanes there are, and you need to know which exit you're getting off of before you get onto the traffic circle. And a couple times I didn't, because you know what? I've never driven on those roads before, so didn't really know where I was going. So that was interesting. Caused a little, you fucking American, probably fists in the air there. Um, driving's free for all in Europe. I feel like everywhere except America is like all the smaller towns. There's cities that have, I call everything a town, dude. That upsets Amy so much. Um, every every city that's like really old that was made for like horse and buggy or walking first, the roads are
Hmm.
so narrow. It's not like they tore buildings down. It's not like America to where they implemented it with cars. Like it's like I would say probably the most comparable city in America of driving in Europe is to like what Boston is, because New York's a grid. New York doesn't count. It's made perfectly for, granted there's a million people there, but it's made perfectly for cars because it's a grid. Boston is not. And Boston is, I've never been there, but I've seen the cities and I've heard people talk about driving there. It's narrow, it's things like that.
I've been there, but never drove.
Um so yeah, like you just free for all, pass whenever, do whatever. And um it was interesting. Coolest thing that I saw is there's not a lot of cops on the road. Did see one accident where a car was flipped. That was
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
But anyway, what I was saying was saw a car flip, so that was interesting. Didn't see it flip, saw the aftermath of the flip. So that was interesting. But something cool, you don't see a lot of police on the roads like you do inside the cities. Well, in the one city, like everywhere else that we stopped was like tiny little 200 person towns. But they have this thing on the highways that is a monitoring system that scans your car when you go like past a certain point, and then however far down, it's on like big highways, so like 10, 15 miles down, or kilometers, whatever they use over there. um it monitors your speed, so like it knows if you're going the 80 kilometers an hour, how long it should take you to go from point A to point B. And if you get there faster than that, they just automatically send a ticket to your house.
Ooh.
Yeah, dude. So I was very nervous about that. Very luckily, my Uber driver from the first day that took me to the hotel from the airport told me that that was a thing. So when I
That is
saw
super key.
when I saw like it's hard to miss. There's a damn thing over the road, a big ass picture camera thing. Hard to miss, but I would have just been like, "Oh, I wonder where that is," and kept driving. Now I'm like, I need to go the speed limit. So
Yep.
that was interesting. But yeah, we spent in Ireland, went to little town called Doolin, stayed at a little bed and breakfast there. Doolin has a whopping population of like 200 people, but it was beside the cliffs, so that was cool. Driving on back roads that were like, they were supposed to be 2 lane roads. I would call them a lane and a half, maybe even a lane and a quarter, to where like if you see another car on the sides of the roads, there are like little pull offs, and whichever person is closer to a pull off just pulls off to the road, and the other car passes, and then you go. Terrifying, terrifying, dude.
Jeez.
There were a couple of times where I was like, I feel like our windows like barely missed touching cars. It was crazy. But yeah, took some pictures there and then went to London for vacation-y time, more vacation-y time, which was, being the history person that I am, if you couldn't tell, since we do this week's in history every week, so much. So much. We did all the touristy stuff, saw Big Ben, which I'm going to quiz you right now, Rick. What's the real name of Big Ben?
Bigamous Benjamin.
No. It's called the
I think that's a
Elizabeth.
good guess.
It's called the Elizabeth Tower. From
Elizabeth Clock Tower?
the Elizabeth Tower.
It's pretty lame that there's not even clock in the title.
It is called Big Ben is just the biggest bell inside of that clock tower.
Oh.
So it's
That's a
deemed
fun
Big
fact.
Ben, but it is called the Elizabeth Tower, named after Elizabeth the First from however long ago she was reigning. Saw Parliament, super cool. Could have went into Parliament, into a public access room, and watched Parliament happen, but that was a little too nerdy for Amy to want to go into. And I was like, yo, let's do this. But, I mean, it was cool. Did all the stuff. Saw Westminster Abbey, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Biggest thing that we did.
Oh.
What?
Yeah, it was a good show.
Yeah. That's called Downton Abbey, but it's okay. Good try,
Yeah, same
though.
thing.
Love Downton Abbey. Nobody, if you haven't seen it, watch it. Love it. First thing, as for the people that are watching, I have a Brentford Football Club shirt on. This is my first club team shirt that I have that's not Manchester United. I do have a couple different national jerseys. I have US, Mexico, England, but it'll be the only other English Premier League football club you'll ever see me wear, and that is just because I got to go to a game. And I think Dalton put it the best. For any of y'all that have seen the Disney movie Inside Out with the core memories, Dalton put in our group chat that Brandon unlocked a core memory that day. And I did. Dude, it was, oh my gosh, it was great. One, it's cheap. Any sporting event in Europe is so much cheaper to go to than America. I had VIP tickets for £40. I did not know they were VIP tickets when I bought them. I just thought they were cheap seat tickets. I was 17 rows up.
That's awesome.
in a
That's
seven
awesome.
in a smaller stadium, 17 like 6,000 people, but food provided, alcohol was free. They did a pregame show that was like Halloween themed when the people walked out, like they were playing the Michael Myers music. And then I was worried that I wasn't going to know any of the chants, which I knew some of them because it was just changing Brentford's name or Man United's name to Brentford, stuff like that. But they, before every game and after every game, when they win, they sing Hey Jude by the Beatles. And that
Great
was
song.
fantastic. I have a video. I'll post it on the Slam Sis Fact Instagram. They're playing it pregame, and when they get to like the last part of the chorus, the music stops, and the entire crowd is singing it, and it's louder than the music, and I'm getting goosebumps thinking about how cool it was. That it was so cool. Saw a Carabao Cup game. Saw 2 goals, one from Brentford, one from Sheffield Wednesday. And since it was a cup game, you're not allowed to tie. So they had to go to penalties, and Brentford ended up winning on penalties. So I got to see a penalty shootout as well. And also converted my wife when we were riding the tube on the way home. She goes, I'm going to watch more soccer. She goes, that was awesome. And I'm like, yes, you are. But it was great. The tube, coolest thing in the world. Every city that we build from now on should have an underground railway system like that. If you've ever been to New York, just think of and ridden the subway, just think of the exact opposite of New York. You know, New York's scary, dirty. This place was clean, not worried about. It's how everybody in London gets around. Like, there's hardly any cars, and it's cheap. Like, it cost me to go 10 miles to where we were to Brentford Stadium, cost me $1.50. Like, super, super cheap. And everybody's nice because everybody rides it. We rode it at 11 o'clock at night, and there are little kids on it with parents. Like, it's not like You ride the subway at 11 o'clock at night in New York, and you're clutching your bag, and you're worried for your life. Maybe not in London. It was great. Um, let's see what else. Queuing is a big thing there that I didn't know about, which is just a fancy word for standing in line. Um, Europeans take their queues very seriously. Like if there's a line for something, you just stand there and wait. Like you're not skipping people to try to push ahead to go to the next thing. Time is, I guess, precious is an interesting word to say, but it's like they value their time outside of work, but they also will wait, if that makes sense. Um, the beer was fantastic. Drank many a Guinnesses, as y'all saw on Slam Swiss Fact. Split the G. Got pretty close a couple times. Got really close one time that Rick was impressed about.
I was. I'm still not sure if it was a regulation glass. We're gonna have to go to the
Yeah,
judge panel.
you're gonna have to do it again. I have a kegerator in my house, and I've already told myself that I'm gonna buy an international tap or import tap, so I can just buy Guinness there from now on. Um, it was great. Saw Wicked. Wicked was wicked cool. On Broadway. Only
All
my
those Boston
only
people.
only my second Broadway show I've ever been to, and it was cool. Like they're definitely going to go see that movie now. Very excited for it. Um, I want to talk about brown sauce. So definitely went out of my way to try non-American food there. Um, had a full Irish breakfast, had full English breakfasts, had breakfast sandwiches that were like definitely very English made. And they have something called brown sauce. They put ketchup and brown sauce on everything in breakfast. Brown sauce is more UK-ish than, ketchup. And it just tastes like Arby's sauce. But they put that shit on everything, and it was so good. But then, for all you lovely people there, I can't remember if I dressed up for no, I did wear my Harry Potter cloak in one of the podcasts. Went to the Harry Potter studio tour, and I felt like a child again, and it was great. They converted 2 studios that they filmed the Harry Potter thing in into museums and combined them together to make one giant studio tour. It was great. You walk in, it's a self-guided tour except the first 2 rooms. First room, somebody gives you all the rules. A couple of the actors come on screen to tell you about, thank you, this is what this is, blah, blah, blah. And then you sit down, and the Golden Trio comes out for all of you uneducated people. The Golden Trio is Harry, Ron, and Hermione. But their actors came out, Emma Watson, Rupert Grint, and Daniel Radcliffe, and they talk about, just how special this place was, because they grew up there, for fucking 15 years or some crap.
Crazy.
And then the screen pulls up, and you have the door entrances to Hogwarts, and they open it up, and you walk through the Great Hall. So the first thing you walk through is the entire Great Hall set, and it was really cool. They had food set out, and like instead of the normal candles, since it was fall time, pumpkins were hanging from the ceiling. Super awesome just to go through. We spent like 5 hours there, and could have spent way more. We just got our tickets a little late and had to book a later time to get there. But it was great. Got to fly on a broom on a green screen. I don't think I've shown Rick that video yet. So I'll post that on Slam Swiss Fact Instagram as well. You'll see me flying on a broom. Walked through the Forbidden Forest. They had a Dementors / Death Eaters show since it was Halloween time. That was themed. They walk around. It was just all around fantastic for anybody that loves Harry Potter. Strongly suggest trying to get to London to do that. Like even if you have a trip somewhere else in Europe that you go to, try to take one extra day and go to London and just do that studio tour. Super great. Saw Buckingham Palace, the changing of the guard, which was really cool. They only do the changing of the guard 3 times a month. And so we told ourselves we're going to get there 30 minutes early, get a good spot. And boy, were we wrong. There were thousands. It started at 11. There were thousands of people out there already just to watch people, military people, just change positions. It was crazy. We still got a pretty good spot to where we couldn't see inside the walls of Buckingham Palace that well, but the armory to where they walked from was very close. Is very close to Buckingham Palace, so we got to see them walk the roads, which was interesting. And it was so cool. And then we went on a ghost tour, which was one of my coolest things. We had time to kill one night, and I was like, "Oh, Amy, there's a ghost tour that also involved a river boat ride down the River Thames." And
2 for 1.
yeah, dude, it was really cool. And the greatest part about it is the ghost tour ended at the Tower of London, and the Tower of London was about 700 feet from our hotel. It started way over near Buckingham Palace and went the like 9 miles, and we were like right there. So it was great. And it was very interesting to hear about the ghosts. Fun fact, the Tube area is haunted as hell, apparently. When they were building the tubes, so anytime, the guy told us this little fun fact, anytime you're riding the tube, because there are multiple lines that go multiple ways, directions, all that stuff, into different zones. The city of London is spread out into zones 1 through 6. One gets you, certain places, and the further out. He goes, anytime you feel like your tube kind of goes downhill or uphill, he goes, it's because your tube is dodging mass graves from the Black Plague. And I was like, oh, and he goes, that's why the tube is the most haunted place, because I think he said when they were building it, because we stood right over a mass grave, and he said that there are 30 to 75,000 people buried under London and inside the tube. So that's why he goes, when you curve or you're going down or up a hill, he goes, you're just dodging mass graves from the Black Plague. And I'm like, that's terrifying. Yeah, that's really weird. So, and he goes, and that's why the tube's the most haunted place in the world, or not in the world, but in London, at least.
Yeah.
And saw the Tower of London. Tower of London's really cool. For anybody that doesn't know what the Tower of London is, it was the pre-castle to Buckingham Palace, where all the old kings and queens lived. So that was cool. The crown jewels were there. Went into a room, so can't take any pictures in there, but went into a room that has about $4 to $6 billion worth of jewels in it. Saw the crown that Charles and Queen Elizabeth wears, all the way down to King James, who created the King James Version Bible. Like, saw his crown and all kinds of stuff in there. Saw the little scepter and the oil thing that they used to lather up Charles's body when they do the coronation and they're on the seat. It was pretty cool, but yeah, we had a good time. And then I guess last but definitely not least is got to see the Churchill War Rooms for World War II, which was, I know Rick was very jealous of that when I sent him a picture that I was going inside of that. Super cool. I definitely thought it was just going to be a building. It's not. It's an entire underground bunker that you get to tour. And it is crazy that they spent like 4 years of their lives working out of this bunker. And it was great. A lot of history there. And then Westminster Abbey. Got to see a lot of famous people's graves. Lots. I stood in between Charles Darwin, Isaac Newton, and Stephen Hawking at one point and took a picture of all their graves. Their graves are 3 feet apart from each other. They're all buried there. Other famous people that were there saw C.S. Lewis's grave, Charles Dickens, the Mr. Canterbury Tales himself, and then there are, kings and queens buried there. So got to see a lot of kings and queens. Mary, the Queen of Scots, or Bloody Mary, the lady who invented the drink. Same person, Queen Victoria. It was great. And then to finish my story from beginning to end, plane ride back, another empty and complete aisle. So I got to lay down the whole time flying back for 9 hours, which was honestly second best highlight of the trip. Was getting, because the flight back was further because you're going against the jet stream, or it took longer. and still had a whole empty row to myself, so I got to lay down the whole time. It was fantastic.
That is super clutch.
Dude, it was great. It was a great time. Like, highly recommend. Would go. Told, I have a bunch of ADD and some other stuff. Told my wife we should move there immediately. So, like, I wouldn't a heartbeat. Don't care what I have to do for work. Like, I'll move there. It was fun.
You couldn't give up freedom units.
No, the kilometers and the metric system would confuse me, but I feel like I'd figure it out. But it was great. I had a good time. But it was cool. And everybody was friendly.
Like a blast.
Dude.
I tried to Snapchat and text Brandon as much as I could without trying to ruin his experience, but it looked awesome.
Dude,
I was pretty jelly.
It was great. It was fantastic. Yeah, had a great time. Got to see a lot of stuff. Other things, a lot of other history things that I got to see, but don't want to bore you to death with all of that stuff on there. But yeah, it was fun. And then next week we'll go back to our current events because we don't get to do anything fun for a while till Rick and his wife go to Iceland. So
just a couple weeks, baby.
Which will be fun. But now on to our score that we are keeping. Right now the score is Brandon 6, Rick 2. Rick gave me a.
This is 2 rounds to 1. Just so
yes. 2 rounds to 1. Week 1, Rick gave me top 5 rom-coms. Went 5 for 5 on that bitch. Week 2, I gave Rick top 5 grossing war movies. Thought he was going to do well. He struggled a little bit with it when Saving Private Ryan was at 3.
Your brain gets thrown for a loop. The train derailed. Okay.
Last week, Rick gave me the most expensive coffee beans per pound, which I think was absolute BS.
But Rick tried to bring it back to reasonability by telling you the brand and making you guess the country of origin.
Correct. So, I have 2. I don't think
5.
No. I have 2 different lists, and you're going to choose your own fate here.
Because I choose the easy one.
Because, well, I don't know if you want to. Because neither are super easy. I think one's definitely easier than the other, clearly. But whichever one you don't guess, the other one's just going to be yours next week.
2 weeks later.
Yeah. So to give you a hint to which one you can guess. This is the only hint you get. One involves something that you are really passionate and knowledgeable about.
That scares me.
One involves something you still enjoy, but probably don't know as much about as the one that you're passionate about.
Ooh. Okay, at the risk of looking really stupid, now that Brandon has hyped that up, I will pick the one you think I'm more passionate about.
Great. That's awesome.
That's terrifying that Brandon is
because I think this one's more difficult.
Oh, great.
So, Rick, I went on a couple different recreational outdoor websites.
Okay.
And I found
as broad and vague of a field as you can get.
Oh no, it gets very more specific for you, sir. I found the top 5 most visited whitewater rafting rivers in the world.
Okay.
And that's your top 5. Do I have a 6th for you? No. So I will give you one hint to help you. Only one of the top 5 are in America.
Okay, I would have thought 2 were in America, so okay, that is a helpful hint. I'll say that much. But okay, so we're just gonna go just straight off the top, huh?
Yeah. And now I will say this is a little subjective, just like your coffee beans were, because I also found different answers for most expensive coffee types. But a
Mm-hmm.
couple of different resources told me that these were the top 5 most visited or used, whichever one you want to say.
Okay. I am going to start with the one I think. So I get 3 strikes, right? Same
Correct. Yeah,
rules,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah. 3 strikes.
Okay. I am gonna go with the one. This is so close because there's 2 in the U.S. that are very well known. Um,
But which one do you think's more visited?
that's where it gets tricky. So I guess this should actually. I'm gonna assume the metric for this is how many people use it commercially
Yeah, I
per
guess.
year.
Sure.
Okay. You mean you don't even know what metric we're going off of?
No, I mean, is people that use it. So I feel
Per
like,
year?
yeah. So like, if you went down it 6 times, it would count you 6 times. Not different people, just how many people use it. I guess. Listen, dude, I tried to make something fucking difficult like the coffee thing, okay?
Okay. So we're gonna go Colorado River.
Colorado River is the number 1 most visited whitewater river in the world. It is number 1. What was your other American one that you were going to try to guess?
So the Gauley River in West Virginia
Yeah.
is
It was
a
it was
huge
it was like
attraction.
9 it was like 9 or 10.
Okay, yeah. So the only reason I chose not to go with that one is the Gauley is only open for part of the year. So
Cuz
it's a dam release interaction. And so they call it Gauley Fest. And if anyone out there wants some crazy thrill, I've actually never gotten to ride down the Gauley. I've done the New River in West Virginia, but the Gauley season it hasn't always lined up. But it's supposed to be a wild thrill. But it's only a certain part of the year. But
yeah.
Gauley Fest kicks off Gauley season. And you have people traveling from all over the world to go down the Gauley. And when you almost threw me for a loop because you said if you went down 6 times, it'd count 6 because people go crazy during that season. People will do it, 6 times a day just to go down and do it in kayaks, rafts, all of it. So, okay. So Colorado's number 1. That's good. Whew,
Yeah.
no strikes.
No
the
strikes.
Gauley River, I was debating.
And here's where you fuck up probably.
Probably. So now I got to remember this. These are international.
The other 4.
Yeah. The Zambezi River, I know, is huge.
Okay.
That's a guess.
Is that a guess? That is number 2.
Boy, we're cooking.
We going in order now? So the Zambezi River in Zimbabwe is number 2.
We're cooking.
All right.
That's, also a huge international
Dude,
attraction.
I saw a picture of it like in the articles I was reading. I was like, that would be cool to go down. Three more.
I'm nervous. I'm nervous. I know. I'm trying to remember. I know it's in South America. I know there's one in South America. It's also huge.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember if it's in Chile or Argentina.
Okay. I'm not giving anything away here.
I know. Yeah, I know. You're really not giving. Other than the hint, you're not giving me a lot.
Okay.
Oh. It's Futelefu, Futlefu. It's something with an F. I promise you that. It's something with an F and a bunch of vowels.
Is that a
Can I get a
guess?
lifeline here?
Is that a
for
is
for
that a
four
guess?
languages. What do you say?
Is that a guess?
It, it is most of a guess.
Right. I mean, if you say the Fufuni whatever river, I mean, I would count it because that's a very difficult word to say.
So it is on there. That is a
Yeah,
guess.
it is, but it was number 6. So
Oh crap! Oh crap! That's like if you're going to South America, that's supposed to be like where you go. Supposedly, there's a lot of other commercial ones, but I guess I'm also thinking not just from literally number standpoint, but from like popularity. I guess is also what's messing me up.
mhm.
There is one. There is one in New Zealand. Dude, I'm gonna be honest. This is gonna be rough now. Trying to remember names. Just so we're all clear, Rick was a whitewater raft guide in
Yeah.
like
The
2020.
By the way, the Futalefu River in Chile was number 7, which is what you were trying to say. Futalefu.
It's the
Okay.
the
Okay. I will go ahead and let you know that the one in New Zealand that you're thinking of is not in the top 5. Yeah. Not in the top 9, actually.
That is rough. Oh man, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. We started hot, and we're in trouble. So we're at 2 correct, one strike.
Mm-hmm. 3 guesses.
I'm 100% not counting that as a strike. That you just gave me a freebie.
No, I'm not.
Um, Kosai River in Nepal.
Very great guess. But it's number 6.
You know, I don't know if any of our listeners have ever experienced hating someone you love so much. But there's a strong conflict of emotion when you absolutely adore someone, yet you want to punch their face. It's-
Fucking don't give me most expensive coffees that I can't afford, and then we'll be fine. The other list that you could have chosen that you don't have as much passion about, but still maybe new, way easier than this list.
good, good.
There's 2 strikes,
Um,
3 guesses left. But I mean, if you stop right now, you're 4 to 6 total for the 2 weeks.
I think there's a strong chance that I do not get another one. Hang on.
I don't think you get one of them. But I think there's one on this list that when I tell you, you're going to be kind of upset that you didn't get this. If I know you, I feel like you know this river.
This is whitewater, correct?
Yes, whitewater rafting. It
Okay,
is
so it's not
like
like lazy rivers.
no.
It's
One
not.
of one of the I'm looking at one of the articles that I picked up, and it is literally called 9 of the world's most popular whitewater rafting spots.
Okay.
And there's one on this list that I really feel like you're going to be upset that you don't get. Because I feel like you know this river. Have I ever heard you talk about this river before? No. But do I feel like you know it? Yes.
Okay. So, got the big one in Africa.
You did.
New Zealand apparently isn't on there. Or
It's number 8.
we got. It is number 8.
Yeah.
You told me it wasn't in the top 9 a second ago.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't in the top 5. The Futalafu River is number 7. Your Nepal is number 6. So you're really good if I would have done 6 through 10.
Oh man, not a lot of whitewater rafting in Europe that I can think of.
They're not in Europe. None of these 3 guesses are.
Okay, that at least consoles me a little bit. I'm like, I can't think of any popular.
One of the top 10 is in Europe, called the Nosy River in Italy.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. See, I wouldn't have guessed Italy for a place. I don't know enough about its geography.
The only other place I would have thought of in Italy would have been like the Switzerland area with like the Alps.
Yes. So that's where my brain would have went if I had to guess somewhere in Europe.
But this is either in Australia, South America, Latin America, North America, or Africa. So we can take the entire continent of Europe off.
Yeah, that's why I felt pretty confident. There's a river. I knew someone that he was, I guess, somewhat of a short-term mentor to me. He talked about going to Costa Rica when he was pretty young because he knew Spanish and he got to raft year-round. So I'm thinking that was...
But do you remember what it's called?
Ooh, that sounds like I'm on the right track.
Yeah, I mean, you might be. I'm not giving anything away.
The Pacha. I'm gonna guess like the Pacha or Pachas River in Costa Rica.
Okay, I'll give that to you. It's called the Rio Pacuari.
Okay.
But you were on the right track. You said Pachu, and I was like, I know that there's no other river probably called this in Costa Rica.
Oh man, thank you, Andrew. Shout out.
So that's number. So that's number 5. So you have 2 more.
I'm sitting here thinking about how crazy it is that I knew Andrew is the only reason I knew that.
It's clutch, dude. The second you said Costa Rica, I was like, if he gets the first like 3 letters right, I'm gonna give it to him.
That's the thing. For those of you that don't explore waterways much, rivers are named the most ridiculous things.
Yes. Alrighty.
So we got 3 and 4 are what's left on our top 5.
Correct. Yes. Fun fact while you're thinking, the Nosy River in Italy always churns out grade 3 to 5 rapids throughout the entire summer.
Very cool. I know kayaking's big in Italy, but I just didn't think of any whitewater.
I'm looking at a picture of the Costa Rica, the Rio Pacuari right now. Looks awesome because you're rafting through rainforest and mountains on your side.
Yeah, well, that was the crazy thing. So the guy I know he's a very talented outdoor enthusiast. And I only knew him for a brief time where we actually got to interact face to face. But he just moved to Costa Rica on a whim because he knew you can raft year round there.
Right.
That's another thing about how many people can go. Kind of back to the Gali thing. The more access, the more people, right? Like,
yep. So the 2 others, to give you a weird hint, these aren't small rapids. One of the rivers gives throughout the rafting season 3 to 5 grade rapids. The other one starts out at 4 and ends on 5s. It's a big boy.
That's some big water. That's some big water. If it's almost strictly fours and ups,
Yep.
that's some big water. I know there's one in Canada that's famous, and I'd be lying if I said I knew the name of it. We're 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 gonna call it like the we're gonna call it like the Sioux River in Canada. 'Cause
Sioux
I'm pretty
River.
sure they have a lot of names after the indigenous peoples.
That's cool.
So we're
The
we're gonna
Sioux,
go the
the
Sioux
Sioux.
River in
Where,
Canada.
where do you think the Sioux River Falls are?
That's over the Dakotas, I imagine.
Yeah. So not,
Could be
so
Sioux
not, so
territory.
not Canada, right?
Uh,
Anyway,
well, no, there
you
was
were.
lots
I
of
know.
Sioux
I'm just
in
fucking with you.
Canada.
You're wrong. You're wrong. Um.
Thank you for putting me out of my misery. Where are 3 and 4 so I can
So
run them?
number 3 is in Ecuador. It is called the Upano River. It is one of the oldest known settlements in South America, but it gets classes. It is mainly used. The calm part of the river is mainly used for local fishing, and then the rafting gives class 3 to 5 things. It's one of the most visited in the world. The last one, that was number 3. Number 4 is your Canadian River. That is an 8-day rafting trip that you have to do. That it gets increasingly more aggressive and difficult to navigate as the 8-day trip downriver progresses, climaxing to grade 5 after day 1.5 of that, and that is called the Magpie River. You take a seaplane to the Magpie Falls Lake, and you go there. You can see.
Definitely not named after indigenous people. Got
No,
it.
it is the Magpie, and the rafting begins after a seaplane trip onto Magpie Lake. You get to see secluded forest, wildlife, Magpie Falls, and also the Northern Lights if you're lucky.
That's pretty sick.
So,
That's awesome.
to top it out, it is now Brandon 6 out of 10 for 2 weeks and Rick 5 out of 10. So we made it pretty even.
Hey, we got a race. We're in the race.
Which is great because I hated the coffee one. I might just tell you what this one is and not give it to you next week and think of a different one. Your other guess that you could have had was, which I think is way easier, is the top most selling music albums in the world. Just like albums.
Dang.
Yep. That would have been your other top 5 that you could have guessed. And I think
I feel like
I think you would have got 4 or 5.
Really? Okay, I was
Yep.
about to say, I feel like it'd be like either I'd get a good portion of the list or current sales
So
get so inflated.
so we'll throw it out there because I'll give you the top 5 and which ones I would think you got right. Number 1 most selling album of all time is Thriller by Michael Jackson.
Yep, I'd have got that.
Number 2 is Back in Black by AC/DC.
I may have thrown
I
that
think
out there,
you would have got that out
late
there.
in the game.
Number 4, I'm skipping 3 because 3 is the one I don't think you'd get. Number 4 is Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd.
100% would have got that.
And then number 5 is the Eagles' Greatest Hits, Volume 1.
See, I would have had a hard time naming that, but like I would have considered an Eagles album.
Like Hotel California or something.
Yeah,
But
that's probably would have been
number
if I got that
3
far.
is the one that you would not have gotten because it is a Whitney Houston album. Not saying that you wouldn't have gotten Whitney Houston album, but you would not have gotten the album name because the album name is titled The Bodyguard by the movie that she was in with Kevin Costner where she sang I Will Always Love You. And you probably would have called it I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston, but you wouldn't have guessed The Bodyguard.
Well, I knew that wasn't an album. I knew that would have just been the single, and there was no album named after it.
Yeah.
But I probably wouldn't have called it The Bodyguard. Yeah, so I would have got 2 or 3. I would.
Yeah.
I'll be humble and say that I think I would have got to 3. So it would have been a pretty much a wash. I like it. I'm gonna have a good one for you next week. Not overly crazy, but
Same.
a good one for you next week.
Same. No super difficult ones anymore. But
Yeah, we'll try and tone that down.
yeah. Anyway, Last but not least, on a little quick rampant because we're almost over an hour here, which is will be our longest podcast. Not our longest podcast of forever. We did have that two-parter 4-hour one with Gabe. That was great. You should all listen to it because we did a top five places to sleep, and one of the places Gabe chose was the shower. So there is that.
Worst take ever on a podcast.
Arguably the worst take ever. So we're going into the Slam Sis Fact wide world of sports. I only have two things. Rick, what do you have?
I have the fact that the Eagles won this past week. Woohoo! I hate Dallas. And
yeah, fuck the Cowboys.
Ohio State won pretty big, which that was a pretty gimme game. We beat Purdue, so I was excited for my teams this past week in football. And then, isn't that just the fact of how interesting college football is? And then, I guess also, I was talking with someone the other day about this. I'm excited because, as an Ohio State fan, the Big Ten Conference, the top of the conference right now, is looking so strong. It feels like it's the strongest our conference has been since, I don't know, maybe in the last 5 to 8 years. And I'm definitely omitting how good any Michigan teams were because I hate them. So outside of them, the fact that Indiana is on a heater, that's fun to see because it's just not a team that has had a ton of historical success.
Yeah.
Penn State, who has had a great history of success, is doing really well. Ohio State, and then Oregon, as much as I think it's stupid that they're in the Big Ten, is looking like a really good team right now. So the Big Ten looks strong.
The greatest thing is
football looks like chaos.
Big Ten has 4 out of the top 5 AP ranks right now. Big game next week, this coming Saturday, is you have Ohio State, Indiana. So I think it's going to be either very humbling for Ohio State or super humbling for Indiana being 10-0. But
I think it's going to be a good game.
I think so too. And remember, we talked about Indiana. That coach goes wherever I go, I freaking win. And dang it, he's 10-0 right now, so he's right. Even if they lose the rest of their games, they can only go 10-2. So
no, he's dude wins.
Yeah.
Dude has taken a program from close to the middle to bottom of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And has made them a strong contender.
I agree. So with college football that I want to throw out, after a hardship first couple games, losing to LSU on some bullshit, barely losing to Alabama, South Carolina is finally ranked, and rightfully so. We've played great. Even in those 2 out of the 3 losses, I think we've played great football. If we win out, which is a very winnable schedule because we play Missouri this coming week, ranked 24, we're 23. Then we play Wofford, and then we play Clemson, who's ranked 23. South Carolina and Clemson's always usually a toss-up. It wasn't in the Deshaun Watson era, but pre-then and after then, it's just kind of been a toss-up on who is going to win that game. That's a tough game. If we win, we beat Trevor Lawrence.
Don't lie to me.
I know. I think he went undefeated at Clemson or something.
Yeah, he did.
But
I was like, I'm pretty sure you didn't because I don't think he lost.
But South Carolina and Clemson's always a good game. Now I'm gonna have to Google what our record was versus Trevor Lawrence now. But anyway, it's called the Palmetto Bowl. I knew that.
Because the state tree of South Carolina is the
pine tree.
Palmetto tree. It's on their flag and everything.
Yep. So we've only won once since 2013. So that time Trevor Lawrence was there, we did not win. We won 2 years ago when we were unranked and we beat number 8 Clemson. So that was awesome. And that's why I'm saying it's always a toss-up. You know, we beat them 31-30. Last year we only lost 16-17. I think we have a way better team. between 2009 and 2013, we won all 5 matchups, and then they came and won the next 6 years. So there's that. But if we win out, we are projected to be the 9th or 10th seed in the college football playoffs if we win out, which would be
huge.
Huge, dude. Especially with like Georgia losing this week, blah blah blah. But
Miami losing this week.
Yeah, it was clutch. But the only other thing that I have is Man United got a new coach. So 3 things about that. We fired Eric Ten Hag. Was I super excited that he came? Yes. Was I super excited that he brought our clubs the first trophies since Jose Mourinho? Yeah, he brought 2 in 2 years. One was the FA Cup, one was the Carabao Cup. Awesome. But he doesn't know how to work with that team because we should be scoring a lot. With on paper, we're fantastic. We're one of the top teams in the Premier League. But right now, we're like 13th place. Then he gets fired. Ruud van Nistelrooy comes on, who used to be a striker for us. Great striker, won 4 or 5 Premier Leagues with us, whatever, during the Alex Ferguson area. First game he comes out, we win 5-0. He went undefeated in his 4 games that he coached Man United. 3 wins, 1 draw. Great, dude. Awesome. But we hired Ruben Amorim from Sporting Lisbon, which is the Portugal league. And he runs a totally different system. He runs like a 3-4-3-1 or something. Okay. And I'm so excited for that because we have 3 great defenders that we can put back there on a back line and then just attack the shit out of the ball. We're in an international break right now from club football. This will be the last international break until March. So and most of our team did not get caught up to national teams this week and a half break because they're kind of just like pointless games, get some younger kids some reps type of deal. Yeah. And so he gets to work with these guys for like a week and a half without games.
Yeah, that's huge for development. That's huge.
I'm very excited
Especially
for
when
him.
Implementing a new system.
I'm very excited for him. His Sporting team just beat Man City in the Champions League. So this man knows how to coach. We have 3 players in our starting 11 right now that used to play for him at Sporting or used to play at Sporting. So they know the system already. So I'm super excited for that.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So hopefully it works out and it's not another bust like ETH or the other 7 coaches that we've had since Sir Alex Ferguson. But we'll find out. Will it be this year? Definitely not. Can we make we're only 5 points out of the second place, but we're like 13th right now. So
yeah, it's tight in the middle of the pack.
If we win, that'd be great. I got to finish top 6 because I bet my buddy $100 that we would, and it's not looking good right now. So I really need them to. He'd let me. He told me the other day at Cornhole he'd let me buy out right now for 50, and I go, sir, I'm not a fair weather fan. Win or lose, I'm sticking with my team in the hope that I have of finishing top 6. So if we finish top 6, Joe, just I'll text you my Venmo because it's gonna fucking happen. But anyway, that's all I have.
That's all I got, brother.
Nice. So for everyone, thank you for listening. We're getting some traction on all the sites. Just remember, you can go and listen to us, and you can see our beautiful faces if you watch us on YouTube. You can just hear our beautiful voices and not see our faces. You can listen to, we're on all major podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple. We're even on Prime. Didn't know Prime had podcasts, but we got it. So if you got Amazon Prime, listen to it that way. Follow us on Instagram. That's probably the best way to get in touch with us. We're just Slams Just Fact on Instagram. We also have a Twitter. Do we use it? Not really. But if people start Xing at us, we'll use it. Is it still called a tweet?
I don't know.
But anything you want to see.
I've moved away from X, honestly.
Yeah, anything you want to see on the podcast, DM us on Instagram or email us at slamsysfact@gmail.com. Rick or I will be in touch. And soon, as a fun surprise for everybody, we're going to start special guests. Not going to tell you who they are, but we're starting them soon. But anyways, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Later.